Vatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvisha vahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Vishwam Darpana Dishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam Pashyanatmani Mayaya Bahirivudbhutam Yatha Nidraya Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So, continuing with our structured, orderly unfoldment of Vedanta. Again, I'm keeping in mind that if you want to make notes and make a way for you to either structure your own thoughts or to teach somebody, this would be a good way to do that. So again, a quick revision. We have seen that there is a universal seeking. And universally means not even human beings, but all beings, even animals, plants, insects, everything. There is a seeking for the innate nature of all beings. And the innate nature of all beings is that we are Sat Swarupa. We are here. We are not nowhere. We are. And we want to maintain it, so permanence. But what we find is, instead of permanence, we have interruptions and temporariness. This is number one. Secondly, we want to know that we are permanent. Just to be in a coma where you may be alive, but you don't know you're alive is not really acceptable. So we want the awareness of beingness, of being here and permanence, but we don't always have that. Number two. Number three, the most important one, everyone is seeking an innate joy, which is our nature, which means a permanent nature. But again, it is evasive, very evasive. Most of the time, we don't find it. And it's very frustrating. You're happy one moment, and the next thing that happens is your peace goes to pieces. So this is the situation. So why is that? What is the issue? If it is a universal value, then there must be a solution. All universal values have a solution. Why doesn't this universal value have a solution? So the answer to that is, of course there is. Of course there is. It's just that you're not looking at it in the way that will give you that paramartha, that moksha that you are seeking, that you don't even know that you're seeking. You're just seeking without knowing it. So there is a way to do that, and it is there, but you're not looking at it the right way. How is that possible, that I'm not looking at it the right way? How can we miss it? What do I need to do? So, it has been seen that something is covering your discoveries that you are complete, Purna. Something is covering. And when did this covering start? Covering means an ignorance, some darkness. So the nature of ignorance is that it never starts. Never starts. Because if it starts, imagine, if the ignorance starts, then before that there was knowledge, which violates the whole principle. So ignorance always is, and when you take life in the shape that you and I do, we are completely covered by ignorance. Complete curtain. Curtain about who we are, what is the world all about. Complete darkness. That's the very nature of the birth. And one by one, the ignorance of things that I see goes. And there are means to have that happen. You employ your tools because the tools of knowledge are already given to you. And those are the 5 sense organs, the 5 organs of action. And then the most important one is a mind. And so as the baby starts to use those tools, and one by one you dispel the ignorance of things. Light, darkness, heat, cold, hunger, fulfillment, forms, mother, father, friend, dog. Slowly, slowly, slowly. And as the mind develops in the person, you become more aware, more knowledgeable about counting, about arithmetic, about mathematics, about language, about words. And then you start to communicate. You look at specific pieces of knowledge that you obtain. You become experts. You have progressive knowledge in your life. All of them keeps on adding. Memory, recognition, ability to talk, and knowledge of particular subjects, physics, chemistry, engineering, law, what have you. So, this is what happens. So in this journey of becoming knowledgeable about things, something goes missing. And the missing portion, as our Shastras point out, what goes missing, what is missing, is the one that is responsible for your sense of incompleteness. Because only when you have accounted for every inventory of yourself, everything about yourself, about the world, God, you will be happy. If you don't know that, chances are, not only chances, you will be wanting, you will be unhappy. No question about that. But it's just that the way we are born, we are looking outwards. There's a very famous mantra in the Upanishads which says, Paranchikhani Vyatranat Swayambhuhu Tasmat Paran Pashyati Na Antaratma. And so it says, it's as though the Maker has cut off your ability to know yourself. Why and how? Because you're outwardly looking. You're looking at things only. Something is missing. This is the ignorance that we are born with. So then, as we saw in the last class, the very famous mantra, which is Parikshalokan karmachitan ayat brahmanaha nasti akritaha kritena tat vikyanartham gurumeva vigachet shotriyam brahmanishtam. It's really an important thing. It's not just a shloka, but we should really begin to see the truth behind it. So we went through this whole class last week on this. And you can revise it if you would like to do that. So what it means is that at certain point in our lives, there comes a understanding that what I am doing in my life is not working. You know, it's really amazing that understanding, that realization normally doesn't come. People keep on, and I think it is, pardon me, not quite sure what all the reasons are, but one of the reasons I find is that people are hopeful. You haven't found the amritatvam, the amrit of mortality. I haven't found it, but I'm trying. I'm looking for different things. And hopefully, somehow it will appear to me. And the whole life passes. But a great inflection point in one's life comes in where you really think, this is called vichara, atma vichara, where you say, this is not working. And the evidence that it is not working is supplemented by the wisdom of the Shastra, which says you are right. Congratulations for discovering that. Because Shastra says, look, as we saw in looking at Swami Dayanandaji's explanation about the experience and knowledge and the search, very beautiful thing, which says that no matter what I do outside meaning in the experience of my life, the conclusion that I am not okay remains. You are changing the deck chairs on a Titanic, busy doing that, not realizing that the whole ship is sinking. And it seems very hopeless. Out of that hopelessness should come a search for some answers. That's why the second line says, Tat Vijnanartham. You ask somebody, am I right that whatever I do is useless? Because the conclusion that I am incomplete stays independent of that. It's kind of like you can tinker with some pharmaceutical things here and there, but the disease remains. You can put ointments on it. So finally, you have to go to a doctor, says, what's wrong? I'm born to be complete, and I can't find that completeness. Why is it? So this we saw up to last time. So here, an important view of this is really, really key. Swami Akhandananda just, emphasizes this very much. And he says, listen, the reason is you are focused only on one half of yourself. You are not focused on the other half. Why are you not focused? Because you were ignorant of it. There was a cover that was never uplifted. Because the covers for external knowledge is lifted all the time. Your mom and your dad and your grandparents and your friends, they all help you to lift the curtains from the experiences outside. Do this, do that, go to school, learn this language, eat well. All of those kinds of things, and slowly you follow their advice and you do well. But none of them are aware of the missing pieces. None of them. If they are not aware of it, how can they advise you? So that curtain on the other half of yourself remains untouched until you yourself says, there's something going on here that there's some missing pieces. You don't articulate it like this, but you feel something is not right. And then comes another thing, which is interesting, that you read books and you go to study groups and you explore and you do this and you do that, all kinds of things. I wouldn't say he's my student, but he's on my list of, I won't name him, I just got an email. So many details of, there are different views of Vedanta. There is Vivarna school, there is a Bhamati school, and there's after Nididhyasanam what you do, and so on and so forth. And he wants to discuss that with me sometime. No, this is not search for knowledge. This is just trying to be a smart person, academically smart. Not going to lead anything. But anyway, so what we do is that we learn, we study a lot. And none of that really helps. Does not help. Why doesn't it help? This is an important thing for us to understand. That your search on yourself, because when you're reading, books and so on and so forth, this is why I already discussed this several times. This is a very important thing because our Mahatmas have really examined the advice of Ramana Maharshi, who's recognized to be a Jnani. And he says, just keep on searching. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? You will reach. And all three Mahatmas that I follow, Swami Dayanandji, Swami Maheshanandji, and Swami Akhandanandji, they have all independent, and out of them, Swami Dayanandji and Swami Akhandanandji, I'm not sure about Swami Maheshanandji, actually visited the ashram, Raman Maharshi's ashram. talk to him. And they have no question that he is a jnani. Absolutely, no doubt about it. But his advice to people that you keep on inquiring may in general be correct, but how you do it doesn't work. You cannot just say, read a book and say, how am I, how am I, how am I? Swami Dayanand used to articulate this best. He says, after a while you'll say, I'm an idiot, I'm an idiot, I'm an idiot. I'm not an idiot, but I need help. I'm just a small person. So the reason that it doesn't work is because, this is important to see, you cannot visualize or imagine that you are without any, that you are the very basis of the whole world. You're without any limitations whatsoever. Aparichinna. By being parichinna. Because you feel that I'm a human being. And you may think that I'm a very smart human being and I know a lot and I'm willing to work hard and all of those kinds of things. But you're still a human being. This is your basic point. And when you read the books and so on and so forth, you are still a human being. You are examining all the facts from the standpoint of your own limitations. Doesn't work. It's very funny. There's this Mahakumbha going on in Prayagraj. You must be aware of that. And I think Chandra Dulam had even sent this, and I had independently looked at that. There is a lot of chatter about this IIT Baba. He's from IIT Bombay, and he's gone through a lot of different things, experiences, and this, that, or the other. And then he started to renounce, and somehow he ended up at the Mahakumbha. And then all these people that are, bloggers, and then they have all these people that interview for television. They all found him somehow, and it was fascinating that how come such a very educated person how can he became a sannyasi? So it was fascinating. I also saw some different podcasts with this person. Until I think about 2-3 days ago, I saw a podcast that finally, because I was curious too, that how did he come to this point? Who did he have as a teacher? Because this is what I was wanting to find out. Because he belongs to this Akhara, and finally he's been kicked out of that because he made some comments. Anyway, all of that is not relevant. But I was also curious to see how did he come to this understanding. Then the smoking gun was discussed. So there was this guy who was talking about him, and he said, well, then I discovered J. Krishnamurti, his books. They told me everything that I wanted to know. And J. Krishnamurti says, reject all authority. Reject all authority. This is very true. J. Krishnamurti said, reject all authority. And I said, oh. I shut I was listening to the podcast, I shut it down, I found my answer. And the answer was, this guy doesn't know. Why doesn't he know? Because he's following a false guru called J. Krishnamurti who doesn't know. Why is that? J. Krishnamurti says, reject all Vedas and everything. Figure it out on your own. Reject all authority. Cannot be done. You can't do that. Because of all the reasons I said. some external person has to tell you what you are missing. In person, not even in books. This is fundamental to the teaching of Vedanta. So this guy, somehow he got very impressed by the logic of J. Krishnamurti. I mean, I'm very lucky that all of this was discussed in great length by Swami Dayanandji when we were at the PRC. Great length. Not just casually mentioned discussions. He said, don't go near that person. Because he is not a Shastragya. You need to be a Brahmanishta and you have to be a Shastragya. You cannot do that by criticizing the very... That's not possible. So then I knew that this IIT guy is not for real. He's got some nice experience and so on. He's got a long ways to go to figure out what's happening. Anyway, so to discover this half of my life which is covered, I can't do it on my own. This is why it says, Tat Vijnanartham Gurum Eva Vigachet Shotriyam Brahmanishtam. Shotriyam means Shastragya. Brahmanishtam. Whose nishtha for Brahman comes from knowledge that has been imparted. So now, let's proceed further. So what does the Guru say? You say the Guru will remove this ignorance of the missing part of my body. How? So the Shastra says, listen, my dear. There are two parts to your life, a seer and a seen. And you are only focused on the seen. You're missing an examination of the seer. This is where your problem lies. And of course the doubt is, as a seer, I'm participating, all the things that I'm looking at, all my experiences are, I know I'm aware of the fact that I'm a seer, I'm a seer, I'm a seer, I'm a sakshi, I'm a sakshi. What's the big deal about it? I'm already familiar with it. You're telling me that I didn't know that? Of course I know that. So I don't know what new thing you're telling me. This is the problem. Because I have not examined the nature of the seer. I utilize it just as I utilize a brush, a toothbrush to clean my teeth. You know, you say, what's the big thing about toothbrush? Just like you say, what's the big thing about toothbrush? That's just a toothbrush. The main thing is I have to look at my teeth and gums and health and so on and so forth. It is not like that. It's just like that. You'll say, I'm a sakshi of different things. The main thing is all the experiences. What can I do? How can I maximize my happiness and all that? No. The truth lies in the examination of the seer. And if you examine the seer, a lot of things will clear to you. What things will become clear to me? Tell me. All right. Are you ready to listen? Let me tell you. So, please understand that there are two factors in your life, you as a seer and you as a seen. And the issue is that you've gotten the two of them mixed up. And the mix-up results in dukkha. Really? Mix-up results in dukkha? Yes, that is exactly right. The mixing up of you and the others results in dukkha. This is greatly analyzed in the Adhyasa Bhashya of Adi Shankara before the main sutra start. Adhyasa Bhashya means you are imparting your qualities, the Atma's qualities to Anatma, and you are importing the Anatma's quality to the Atma, and you're getting the two of them completely mixed up and creating a confused, changing situation about your life, which results in all the things we talked about. You cannot find moksha, you've been trying, doing all this. This is exactly what happens. Really? Yes, this is the problem. So what do I do? So then let us now examine the mix-up. And we examine the mix-up by looking at each component of the mix-up very carefully. What are the intrinsic qualities of each component? Let's just look at that. Then we will decide how the two of them get mixed up. That's a separate adhyasa. Adhyasa is separate. But at least now isolate. It's a good word. Isolate factor number 1 and factor number 2 from each other. Factor number 1 is anatma, outside, what is not you. Anatma means what is not you. Let's look at that as a factor number 1. And then you look at factor number 2, which is you. Then we will say how the two are mixed up. Okay, so this is how we're going to proceed. Shastra says, you asked for my advice, and I'm very happy that you came to me. I've got all the answers, but please listen carefully. So it says, all right, let us start with factor number 1. But before we go into the elements of anatma, factor number 1, one thing, be careful, we just a very small definition. We need to define a word called truth, reality. What is truth? What is truth and reality is the same thing, and in Sanskrit the word is sat. Sat Swarupa, Satyam. Let's define that. So the sat is defined as something which never changes under any circumstance. This definition is important. We should write it down. And once we write this definition down, then based on this definition, we will measure the other factors, whether they measure up to it or not. Okay? So the definition of truth or reality is one, and it should be very obvious to you. I'm sure you'll agree with it. Because if something changes, we have taken this example many times before. You are looking at this carpet, and the next moment it turns into a liquid. And then it turns dark. he will say, what is going on? I don't know what this is. A carpet should, yesterday also I looked at the carpet, it's the same way. Today also it is the same way. Maybe some may get dirty or something, but it's pretty much the same thing. What doesn't change is the truth of it. That's the carpet. So the very definition of Sat is one which does not change, which retains its Swarupa regardless of time, space, Vastu, independent of everything. That is this Vastu called Sat. Okay? Once we define that, if we agree on it, please set it aside. Set it aside. Okay. Now we are ready to examine the factor number 1, which is Anatma. So, let's look at these various aspects of Anatma. Okay? Number 1 is called Anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya. What does that mean? Vachaniya means clearly definable. Anirvachaniya means impossible to clearly define it. It's just a flow which does not have any clear definition. So here somebody can say, does that mean, are you saying you don't know what it is? Is that what you're saying? No. Anirvachaniyatvam, the quality of being anirvachaniya, is different from the fact that there is something but I don't know what it is. No, that's not what it is. I know that it is unknowable, is anirvachaniya. And so all these other things about changing and undefinable and kind of like a flowing river where you cannot say what portion of the water goes where. It's just a big jumble of water flowing. This is one characteristic of Anatma. Okay, number 1. Number 2, given in this, we can spend a lot of time on this, but just to limit it, you can never define when it began. You can never define when it ends. You can never define exactly what is going to happen. Never. It's all a big jumble of change. That is Anirvachaniya. Number 2, it is Vinashi. Vinashi means that any one thing you take, even the whole thing is a Vinashi, but certainly you can examine it that if you look at any one thing, it is Vinashi. Vinashi means that it is destructible. It can never stay the way it is. Well, you can say the earth is not Vinashi. It is. It's slowly changing. It's going to disappear one day. Sun is also going to be disappearing. It might take a long time. We're not talking about time periods. But basically everything is Vinashi. And your experiences are as good as that. You have some experience, something happens, it goes away. And it's good that both good and bad things can also happen and they also will go away. Vinashi. And along with that is what is called Sadi and Santa. Sa-adi and Sa-anta means it has a beginning and an end. So it's different from Vinashi in the sense that Vinashi means that something already is, but it's going to get disappeared. It's going to go away. Sadi and Santa means at one point it was not there, and another point it will not be there. So this is what is called Prag Abhava. Before a certain point, its bhava was not there, its sthiti was not there. Just like an ornament. Before the point where the person who is building the golden ornaments began work on it, the ornament was not there. And after a while, after it gets destroyed, it will disappear. So Santa means Anta sahavartate, it is Santaha. Adi sahavartate is Sadi. So the number 3 is Sadi and Santa. Number 4, it is Namarupa Swarupa. Everything has some form or the other. Either it has a smell, or it has a taste, or it has a form. Something it stays within your sense organs and your organs of touch. If it is not there, it is not touchable or approachable, experienceable. So it has some form and some name to it which you can give for transactional purposes. That's number 4. So Anirvachaniya, Vinashi, Sadi and Santa, Namarupa Swarupa. Number 4. Number 5, Paratantra. Paratantra means it always depends on something. There's always a karana for it. So this is the analysis of what's called cause and effect. And so the world that I experience is an effect, but it has a cause. And it is not independent. It came out of the cause. So that's another quality of anatma, that it is paratantra. It is not swatantra. Swatantra means independent. It is dependent. Paratantra. Number 5. Number 6. It is Achitrupa. Achitrupa. Achitrupa means it is jada, means it is inert. So to define Achitrupa, along with, you remember we discussed Sat, right? We discussed the definition of Sat. So there somebody can say, you can define the Sat, but is there something called Sat? Is it possible? That we will examine later. For now, we're just defining the Sat Sarupatvam. What is Sat Sarupatvam? Sat Sarupa means one which is never changing, no matter what. Similarly, in order to understand the Achitrupa of the Anatma, let us define another entity called Chit Swarupa. So here you can say one which is sentient. In English, the word sentience can be used. Awareful can be used. So how would you define Chit Swarupa? How do you define Chit Swarupa? Just like define Sat Swarupa, how would you define Chit Swarupa? And by the way, this is also a very important thing that we will see this later. Sat Swarupa and Chit Swarupa are one and the same. Eventually. A very advanced discussion. But for now, let's keep them separate. Okay? Sat Swarupa, Chit Swarupa. What is the definition of Chit Swarupa? Chit Swarupa means the following. One which is aware of everything. Number one. Two things. One which is aware of everything. And number two, including aware of itself. Both have to be satisfied. Both have to be satisfied. Aware of others, anything else, it's aware of. Not only that, it is self-aware also. You know, and you can see this, like for example, the nature of let's say a burning lamp. So you have a vessel, you put some oil in it and a wick, and you put some you light fire, and it results in a light. So the nature of this light is it lights up everything around it, 360 degrees. And it is the nature of light itself. You can't say that it doesn't light itself. It is lit. It is the very source of light. Plus it lights up everything. So why do we say this such a puristic, if I can find a word, a pure definition of Chit like that? Because, and this by the way, will be true for other things also, but we are now discussing Chit. Because remember, one of the things we said is that one of the qualities of Anatma is that it is Achit Rupa, Jada Rupa. So inertness, Jada Rupatvam, is different from Chit Swarupa. How? See, for example, you cannot say that you cannot say that something is moving, that it is awareful. Because one of the things, the movement is one of the things which you possess some life. You are aware. You're alive. But you can have a machine. You can wind it up, and for a while it just goes by itself. So you cannot say things like that are Chit Swarupa. Because all you have done is you have imparted your own Chit to it. It reflects your Chit, but it is not Chit Swarupa. So similarly, if you were to examine, if you were to label, that's a better word. If you were to label anything to see whether it is Chit Swarupa or not, you go through this filter of the definition. What is the filter of the definition? Is it lighting everything up? Is it light? It is self-lighting itself. And you can even say, is it Sat Swarupa? Is it always Sat Swarupa? That will come a little bit later on, but I'm just adding to it. Then according to it, you find is that anything that you see is not Chit Swarupa, it is Achit Swarupa. So one can say, wait a second, you're seeing a person. Supposing one of you was sitting right here in front of me, and I'm seeing that person. One of my friends actually said, "Can I come and sit while you are talking on YouTube?" So I thought about it and I said, no, because it'll be confusing. I have to look at that person. That person is there in person, and then now I have to look at you in the camera. I think that'll be confusing. So I said, it's better you just, if you're really interested, watch me on the YouTube like the rest of them. So supposing there's a person sitting next to me. Now, is that person, and that person is looking at me and raises the hand or something, I don't understand this, or what did you say this? In other words, he's alive and he's talking and so on. Is he Achit Swarupa or Chit Swarupa? This is the question. What would you say? Think about it. Achit Swarupa, not Chit Swarupa. The reason is I'm defining that person from my perspective, not his perspective, but from my perspective. He is Achit Swarupa, Jadas Swarupa. Why? Because that person depends on me to define who he is. I can close my eyes and ignore that person. And in my estimation, he's not there. Certainly if I go to sleep, supposing I snore off in the middle of my lecture, he's gone from my awareness. He cannot independently decide to do something. It all depends on me from my perspective. So therefore, now we need to discuss this in more depth. But for now, number 6 is Achit Rupa, Jada Rupa. All the Anatma, it's kind of like in a dream, where all characters in the dream are Achit Rupa. And you as the person who awoke from the dream is the only Chit Swarupa. Even though they might be moving, they are in your reflection, Achit Rupa. Similarly, all Anatma is Asat Rupa. Not only is it Achit Rupa, it is Asat Rupa. Asat Rupa means not Sat Swarupa. So in Sanskrit is a nunj, it's a negation. Asat means Sat na. It's not Sat. Again, why not? This one is very clear. The Chit, you could say there is some discussion possible. Sat, because things appear to you and they disappear. They don't always stay with you. And it doesn't mean that the anatma that we are examining, which is called drishya rupa. Drishya rupa means anything that you experience does not include your own body and mind. Doesn't mean that, because it does. Your body and your mind, your thoughts, are also drishya rupa. They are also anatma. That is the issue, as we will discuss it. But for the purpose of this analysis, all of the paraphernalia of your own body, your own mind, other bodies, other minds, other objects, everything is drishya rupa and follows the definition of anirvachaniya vinashihi namarupaha sadi samtaha paratantraha achitrupaha asatrupaha. Satrupa means that they also doesn't stay, it violates the definition of sat. Sat means it must be there at all times. And what you see is not there all the time. In fact, it is anirvachaniya. You can never say where it is. Number 7, asatrupa. And number 8, the most important one. It is dukkha rupa. Dukkha rupa is the cause of your problems. Any kind of pain, suffering, unpleasantness, it is there in the anatma. It is the source of all problems. Not only is it changing, not only is it unreliable, all of those kinds of things. And in including it is asat, it is not real, it is not truthful, but it still gives you real problems. We can't say that it gives you real problems, but it appears to give you real problems. And what is the distinction between appears to give you real problems versus gives you real problem? Think about that. There's a very simple answer to that. Important but simple answer. The reason is it gives problems to your mind, which you take to be yourself. It cannot give problems to you. Adhyaropabhyam. It is an aropa on yourself. Your mind is also an aropa. Your body is also an aropa. So yes, it can give dukkha to something which you seem to find to be very close to you. In fact, you see yourself to be your mind. That's all it can do. The mind is also made up of thoughts and vrittis and conclusions. That can be sullied by an atma. It is also part of an atma. It's all mixed up. But it cannot touch the atma. So it cannot really touch you, but it can appear to touch you. That's the meaning. All right. So this is what's going on. You are watching a tamasha. a continuous, sophisticated play. And you are trying to find yourself in the middle of this play. See this clearly. See, because there's a play going on, complicated play. Lots of plots and subplots and continuous, life after life after life. This is the play. And during the play, you are trying to find out, who am I? Who am I, the actor, who's playing all these roles? And how are you going to find yourself? Because you are only experiencing the play. So your finding yourself is also within the play, isn't it? You don't see yourself outside the play. And as we saw we see in the Mandukya Upanishad, you're playing multiple plays. You have your Jagrata Avastha you're playing, then you switch over to the Swapna Avastha, then you switch over to the Sushupti Avastha, you come back to the Jagrata Avastha, you're always playing some role or the other. All this time you are looking at yourself, you're trying to find yourself. Who am I? I want to be happy. And where are you looking? And when are you looking? Where and when? You're looking within the plot of the play. Am I happy? Am I unhappy? Because your mind is also part of the play. Body is also part of the play. And yet all you can do. It's not going to work. That's why we talked about J. Krishnamurti and this IIT Baba and all those kinds of things. It's in the middle of this maelstrom and you're looking at yourself. Somebody has to tell you, my God, you are getting mixed up with Anatma. You are the Atma who is totally different. Totally different. Really? How different? Explain that to me. How is that possible? Because I only see myself as part of the play, that's all. So the Guru's job is to show you the factor number 2, which you are missing, which you are taking for granted as, oh, I'm just a Sakshi, I'm just a Sakshi. You're much more than that. What appears to be casual and minor is not casual, not minor. And what appears to be very important is actually very casual and very minor. So that is explained by the Guru. And I think it will be better if we just postpone that to the next class when we begin to look at the definition of the factor number 2, which is the Atma. And how is that different from Anatma? What is the factors? And so we will examine that in some detail. So instead of, there's only 5 or 7 more minutes left, And instead of doing a partial job, we will look at it more completely next week. Okay, so I will close the class today and we will reconvene next week. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. And so we will examine that in some detail. So instead of, there's only 5 or 7 more minutes left, and instead of doing very nice to see you all. Good. All right. I don't see any questions, so I will look forward to seeing you again next week. Hari Om.